My experience and my unpopular opinion when it comes to doing gig work like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and things like that. Now, I've had the honor and the privilege of doing Uber since Uber started here in Atlanta. I don't stay in Atlanta, I stay on the outskirts of Atlanta. But I started doing Uber when it first came here. So, depending on who's watching this, I only got like a few hundred subscribers, so I don't know how many people gonna see it, who gonna come across the video. But whoever come across the video, if it's 2-3 people, if it helped 2-3 people, I'm fine with that. But if it goes further than that, that's even great. That's even better. But when I started doing Uber and Lyft, well, I'm gonna say Uber because Uber was here before Lyft was here, and I think Lyft was around before Uber was. But I believe, and I could be wrong, and if somebody knows who was here in Atlanta before, I believe it was Uber. But for me, I started out with Lyft, and I started doing Lyft when they not Lyft, I'm sorry, well, Lyft too, but I started doing Uber I can't even say it right. I started doing Uber back when they had recruiters. I was recruited by a lady, and I thought she was trying to like run game on me or something like that. And I remember I used to take Uber to the train station, not necessarily like all over, because it wasn't as widely used all over at the time. It was like in certain areas. But I remember me and my kids needing a ride to the train station one day, and the lady was like, "You ever thought about driving Uber?" And I'm like, what's T? And she put me on to game, and she was like, I can help you get some extra money in your pocket. I thought she was trying to like literally hustle me, but it ended up being legit. And she was like, once you sign on and you do so many rides, I think we got $1,000 bonus back then, no lie. I got $1,000 bonus and she got $1,000 bonus. So I'm like, well, what the hell? I don't have nothing to lose. At the time, I did not have a car, then I have no transportation. So not only did she get me signed up to doing Uber, she got me into a car. I got a car through Flex Car. I think they still around. I had ended up getting a Honda Civic with Flex Car, and I only had to put down $250 for the deposit. So that was a win-win for me. I get to get a loaner car, and I get to make money, and I get to have transportation for me and my kids, because mind you, I did not have a car. And I did my rides. I think it was like 200-300 rides I had to complete, and I got my $1,000 bonus, and she got her $1,000 bonus. So man, I was like so excited. And then I think about a year later, I signed on with Lyft, because I had some coworkers that was driving for Lyft, and I was telling them about, I was doing Uber, and it's like, well, we do Lyft. They was like, if you sign on through me, one of them was like, if you sign on through me and you do all, your X amount of rides, I got a $500 bonus with Lyft, which was fine. I was cool with that. I got my $500 bonus, and she got her $500 bonus. So that was wonderful. And now I'm doing Uber and I'm doing Lyft. Now, before I started doing Lyft, I was doing the Flex Car. I got the Honda Civic. The Honda Civic was too small. I mean, I was all over town. I was in places of Atlanta and Georgia that I had never been to, that I had never seen. It was great. It was wonderful. I met a lot of people. And then the car was too small, so I took it back to Flex Car. It was like, cool, you can get a bigger car. You're just going to need an extra $250. No problem. I was making money hand over fist back then. And y'all remember when they had the zones. Remember, the map would be shaded. They would have the red zones, they would have the yellow zones, and they would have the orange zones. Y'all remember that? Whoever is an old vet Uber driver, y'all remember the zones. And man, you used to be busting your ass to get to them red zones, because them red zones is where the money was. You will make $30-$40 a ride in like 10-15 minutes. Now you gotta drive 2-3 hours just to make $30 a ride. But anyway, that's how long I've been driving Uber. And I remember, going and getting I went from the the Civic to the Camry. Somebody hit that Camry, and I went and got another Camry, and my deductible for that was like $1,000. I paid the deductible, got into another Camry, kept that car for about 6 months. I saved up enough money to buy me a car cash, and then I had my own car I was doing Uber in, and then I went and started doing Lyft. So Uber and Lyft, and then another thing, I was doing Uber and Lyft before they even thought about doing services like DoorDash and Uber Eats. And then I remember when DoorDash came on the scene, and then they implemented Uber Eats and things like that, and I even started doing that. So that's even more ways for me to make money. Right now, I've always had a full-time job. I was an educator for the same amount of time that I was doing Uber and Lyft. I'm also a professional astrologer too. Now, to be honest with you, even though I'm a professional astrologer, my business isn't always booming. I'm just being honest. I have some months where I'm booked and busy. I'm like overwhelmed, overloaded with doing charts and things like that, and doing readings. And then I have, like, for me, the summer months are the slower months for me. I don't know about nobody else, but anybody that has a business know you have your slow times and you have your busy times. So this time of year is always slow for me being an astrologer, which is cool, because if I have a month where I only have a few readings to do, okay, cool, I can always pick up Uber, I can always pick up Lyft or whatever, and make me some extra money until the bookings pick up. But I noticed that, and I mean, this isn't nothing new that I'm talking about. Whoever watches this video, if you do an Uber, if you're doing Lyft and any of those services, you know how much you don't even have to have been doing it since it started, wherever you at. It like I said, it started in Atlanta, I think over 11-12 years ago, but depending on where you at, it might have came a few years later. Nevertheless, however long you've been doing it, we all know how much things have changed in the last couple of years when it comes to doing services like this. And my whole point for doing this video is to share the good experiences as well as my not so good experiences. But overall, I just wanted to share that for me, it's not worth doing anymore, because the money is just not worth it anymore. There's several different reasons why the money isn't worth it for me anymore. And again, I'm not knocking or shaming Uber or Lyft. It's been a blessing for me, because I've been able to do things for myself and for my children that I probably could have never done. I could literally want something and be like, you know what, I need $200. I can get up at 3 in the morning. I can get up at 5 in the morning. I can go out at 6 in the afternoon and go make my goal and have the money that I need to make. And I have to worry about how I'm gonna get the money, where the money's gonna come from, and all these things. So that was a blessing for me. I've was able to save up enough money to buy me a car. I bought like 3-4 cars cash over the past 10 years with Uber and Lyft. I was able to fund vacations because of Uber and Lyft. But now it's to the point where and I've always picked Uber and Lyft up, put it down. Like, I'll stop doing it for 6 months, and then let's just say I want to do something, I'll start back doing it for a few months. I'll stop doing it, off and on. Do it when I need to, right? But now it's to the point where I don't even want to do it anymore. I've lost the excitement and the passion for doing it. I love interacting with people. I love driving around. It's so freeing for me. It's so freeing when I'm driving around. I get to clear my head. I get to think, and I get to interact with people. And most of the people that I interact with are pretty cool people. Most of the people that I interact with, they just want to get home or to work safely. They want you to get them there on time, and they want you to get them there safely. That's it. That's all. Granted, you'll get those people in your car that could be complicated, that could be difficult, but for the most part, I've had pretty good experiences. I've networked with so many different people. I've learned so many things from so many people from all ages, nationality I'm getting tongue tied, and walks of life, and so I'm grateful for that. I've had a few negative experiences, the typical somebody getting in my car and throwing up in my car. And I actually wasn't as grossed out by it, surprisingly, because people getting sick around me grosses me out, but I wasn't as grossed out. And this was years ago when Uber was giving you $300 for a cleanup fee. I don't even think they do that anymore. So God forbid you get somebody in your car that gets sick. I don't know if they still pay you for that, or if they might give you $50, $100. I don't even know how much they give you, if they even give you anything. But back then they gave you $300. You send them the picture, and within the hour that $300 is deposited into your account. But just saying all that to say, for me, and again, for me, it's not worth doing it anymore. And I remember, like over the last few months, I started back doing it again. And as I would talk to people, they would say, I paid, let's just say, for example, I picked up a young lady the other day. It was a Medicaid ride. It was her and her kids. And she was saying how her fare was $80. Well, I only got like $40 of that fare. And that's just one example of the many people that I picked up, and they say they pay one price and we get one price. But I remember back in the day when I was driving, if the fare was $80, we got $75. So things have really and truly changed over the years when it comes to how drivers get paid, considering the fact that gas is sky high, depending on what kind of car you got. I have two vehicles. One of my vehicles is a small car that it has a small engine, 4-liter engine, but my other car is a luxury car, and so of course I have to put the premium gas in it, so it takes a lot more. So if I want to do, if I want to make more money, of course I'm going to get in my luxury car and make more money. And I even remember back in the day when they used to pay you for having a luxury car. They don't pay you for that no more. You used to, like I got a luxury car now, and you would get paid more money per mileage just to have that on your app. But now they don't even pay for that. Y'all remember Uber Pool? I hated Uber Pool. Oh my God, literally hated Uber Pool. I'm so glad they got rid of that feature. That was one of the best things they could have done, was to get rid of Uber Pool. But yeah, I remember doing Uber Pool. I remember doing that. But it's now I just feel like it's just time for me to completely be done with it, and just move on to something else. Like, I have other things going on. I'm not going to be hurting because of it. But again, for me, and I just say for me personally, it's not worth doing it because, of the amount of money you make. I remember, I can go 30 minutes. A ride can be 30 minutes, and you can make $30 to $40 or even more in 30 minutes. Now 30-minute ride will be $15, $15 for a 30-minute ride. You set a goal, let's just say your goal is $200. You make that $200, you might be out there from 6 in the morning to 6 at night just to make that $200. And then keep in mind, you still got to put gas in your car, and you got to keep the maintenance on the car too. So you're running your car harder. The maintenance is a lot more. The time and energy that you're putting into doing Uber and Lyft is a lot more. So you're overexhausting yourself. You're overexhausting your energy. More wear and tear on your car, on your vehicle. And at the end of the day, the money just, to me, isn't worth it. In my opinion only, the only people that benefit from doing Uber and Lyft now are people that drive electric vehicles. I don't own an electric vehicle. I've never owned an electric vehicle, so I don't know how much different it is for you guys. If you come across this video and you own an electric vehicle and you do Uber and Lyft in your electric vehicle, how was your experience? Please share it with me and let me know. Give me your feedback. But if you don't have an electric vehicle, I don't see where it's worth it for anybody to do it, because you don't have to do the overhead of the gas. You just have to worry about your maintenance. Now, maintenance might be more with the electric vehicle. I don't know. But again, I've never owned an electric vehicle, so I can't speak from that standpoint. And then I also think it's good for people that are like retired. Like my father, he was doing Uber and Lyft before he transitioned. and he was retired. He had his pension and he had his social security, but he was home bored. So Uber and Lyft was something for him to do because he was bored, and he was able to make extra money. So Uber and Lyft was extra money for him. He didn't need it. He wasn't hurting for it. He, just did it because he was bored and it was extra money. So for somebody like him, it would benefit people like who gets benefits, who gets social security benefits, who's retired. I feel like that's good for somebody like that. Or maybe somebody that that's a mechanic. You have a old school car, new enough to take rides in, of course, but if the car break down, you can fix it. Like, you ain't got to worry about no overhead or anything like that. You can do the oil changes, you can do the tires, you can do the this and the that or whatever. Maybe for people like that, it's beneficial, but it's definitely not beneficial for somebody like me. Even as a part-time side hustle, it used to be great, it used to be beneficial, but now it's just not even worth it. I remember when Uber was giving out cars, not even with flex car, because I had mine with flex car. They were giving out cars. Like, I knew people that drove Uber that was getting in cars, and they only thing they had to do was sign their name on a dotted line and they had a car. I went through FlexCard at the time because of my credit. If you had decent credit, and I couldn't get the financing car, I couldn't get those cars because I was going through a divorce and my credit was in a bucket. So FlexCard was that company that I worked with, and they didn't require a credit check. But there were some people that had brand new cars with 0 miles, fresh off the lot. They was giving away cars. Only thing they had to do was sign their name on a dotted line, and the car was theirs. I remember that, and man, I used to envy those people that was able to get those kind of cars, and it was their car, right? If they decided to do Uber and Lyft or not, they still was able to keep that car. So anyway, I remember those days. They don't even have that. Well, they might still have the cars. I think they're doing the electric cars. And I also feel like that could be part of the agenda too. Like, I seen in the app where you could rent a car, and I think you could rent like Teslas and things like that, like the electric cars. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked too deep into it. But even now, renting a car, I feel like it's not worth it, because by the time you finish paying for the car and you putting the gas in it, it's still not worth it. Like, how much, even if you somebody that come across this video and you're in a rental car through Uber, Lyft, how is that working out? Would you care to share your experience with that? Because again, I just don't, if you don't have an electric car, I just don't see how it's even worth it anymore. But yeah, I'm just gonna move into something else, focus more on my business, focus more on doing my content, focus more on other things that I have going on, and just completely let it go. And to anybody out there that want to keep doing it, I wish y'all all the best. Y'all stay safe out there, make the money, do whatever you got to do, and again, share your experience, comment constructively. And as always, I appreciate you all for the stopping by and checking out my channel. All right, see you later.